Hey folks, Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to the first IPO summary video of 2025, which is standard glass lining. Now, I hope everyone might have understood by the pattern that this is a shoot and release video. So just in case if I fumble upon some figures, please don't forget to check out the link in the pinned comments, okay, and the description also in the pinned comment. Now, first and foremost, we need to understand what does the company do. So first things first, company is one of the top 3 manufacturers of glass lined stainless steel and nickel alloy based specialized engineering equipments in terms of revenue in fiscal 2025 in India. Now I'm sure you might be like, what is this? What do you mean by glass lined stainless steel nickel alloy based specialized engineering equipments? You might be like, I have not understood anything out of this. Don't worry, in the next 2 minutes you will be able to understand everything. Second point, it is also one of the top 3 suppliers of PTFE. Please don't expect that I'll pronounce this properly. So PTFE, lined pipelines and fittings in India, again in terms of revenue in fiscal 24. You might be like, Rachana, first we had not understood the first point. Now we have also not understood about the second point. What is this all about? So let me tell you one more point. They primarily supply these engineering products to whom? To the pharmaceutical industry and to the chemical industry. But still you will be like, Nai Karla, please explain. So for that, first have a look at this figure. Okay, now if you look at this, what is this? This is called as reactors, okay, and this is called as a storage tank. Now you can imagine something like this. So I'm just trying to explain the business model in, I'm trying to explain what does the company do from a non-engineering perspective, non-science background perspective, so that you understand absolute basics. Assume that there is a pharmaceutical company and they want to manufacture some API like paracetamol, okay. API is an active pharmaceutical ingredient. It is an ingredient which is responsible for curing a disease or curing something. So for example, headache. To cure headache, you don't need crocin. You need paracetamol, and paracetamol is a key ingredient in crocin, okay. Now you can imagine something like this. If I were to make paracetamol, I don't know the process, but what I could imagine is there would be some process involved and maybe 2-3 chemicals are mixed, okay, and after mixing and heating, whatever, that paracetamol might be formed. But where do we do that? Can you imagine that there is a vessel, in Marathi we call it as a patela, in a small cooking like utensil, itna chammach, this chemical, that, and mix and paracetamol. That's not going to happen, right? That is typically done in something called as reactors. Now you can imagine this is also a metallic kind of a vessel. So while making that paracetamol, this metal may also react with the chemical ingredients, and if that were not to happen, what is done is that this reactor, there is a nice glass lining from inside. What I could remember is Hera Fairy, Paresh Rawal's dialogue, wallpaper hone ko mangta, andar se bahar se, something like that. He had done that. But anyways, it's like a glass lining inside the reactor. Okay, what will it help? It will ensure that the chemicals don't react with the metal which is a part of that reactor. Okay, simple. Chalo, paracetamol is prepared or some chemical is prepared. Okay, now what do you think? This is a reactor, this is where it is prepared. It will be stored somewhere. Where is it stored? In a storage tank. Now again, please don't visualize something like this, that from that big vessel a spoon will be taken and from that spoon it will be transferred like this. Generally it will not happen, right? So there will be some sort of pipes, maybe some pipes will be fitted, and from that it will be transferred to the tanks. Now what will be required? Those pipes should also be coated with something special, so that while the chemical is being transferred from the reactor to the tank, in transit it doesn't react to something and it doesn't change its properties. And that was the reason why, if you remember, I had said that they are also among the top 3 suppliers of PTFE lined pipelines and fittings. Okay, so that pipelines which are required to transfer the material from whatever, like a reactor, to storage tanks. Simple. Second. And third, once that chemical or whatever is now inside the storage tank, again this could also be metallic. Again, we should ensure that it doesn't react with the metal in the tank, and that is the reason why again there will be some sort of lining, or if you remember, I had mentioned that either it's a glass lining or it's stainless steel or nickel alloy based specialized engineering equipment. That is what this company makes. Simple. So what does it make? Something like a reactor, something like a storage tank, also those pipes, and also the lining, glass lining will also be prepared by this company to ensure that whatever is prepared inside it, whatever is stored inside it, that doesn't react with these vessels. Atta kadala. Now I have understood what does the company do. Okay. Now with this, let's understand one more important point. How does it generate revenue? Almost 99 point something percent revenue is generated by sale within India. Just 0.37% is exports. Okay. Now also let's understand, as I mentioned, right, whenever they are making these reactors, storage tanks, pipe fittings, whatever, they are selling to which industries. So here you can understand that almost industry wise split I will take here. Okay, so industry wise, pharmaceutical industry is contributing to almost 80% plus, chemical is around 12.5%, others is 5.61%. If you see here, it's more or less similar, 85%, 82%, 81%. So not a huge difference per se for revenue by industry. Now if you are also to understand revenue from their different lines of business, one is reaction systems. If you remember, this is like a reactor, reaction based systems. From here they are generating almost 56% revenue. This has been dropping from 68% to 61% to 56%. What is increasing? From 26% to 30% to 30%. Similar again, that's storage systems. So like this, the storage tanks that we discussed. And finally, it's plant engineering and services. Important. See, once they make this tank, once they make this reactor, of course, some sort of spare parts might be required, some sort of servicing might be required. That all falls into the third category. And this percentage is also increasing. From 5%, it has increased to 13%. Of course, more and more services coming into play, their margins may improve. Okay. Now let's understand about the industry. Now that you've understood very nicely what does the company do. As far as the industry goes, this company, the industry to which this company pertains or to whom this company services to, if you remember, one chemical industry, one pharmaceutical industry, and one the glass lining industry per se. So chemical industry is expected to grow at a pace of roughly 9 to 12%. The domestic healthcare or pharma may be expected to grow from 8 to 10%. And if you were to understand about this whole glass lined equipment market, that is expected to grow at around 10% CAGR. Okay. One or two extra data points you should know that whenever we are talking about pharma companies, very important is US FDA requirements, because that becomes a big negative point for pharma companies, but I don't think it's a very bad point for this company, because less than 1% of their sale comes from export. Now if they increase their exports, then US FDA, again that challenge will come into play, right? One more important point here, that out of the total generic drug requirement of USA, 40% is supplied by India, and out of the total drug requirement, pharmacy related drug requirements I'm talking about in UK, 25% is supplied by India. So that's again a huge industry for India per se. So industry analysis also, all in all, I hope you have understood. Now if you were to understand the revenue from operations, it has from fiscal year 22, 23, 24, it has grown from 2400 million to 5400 plus million. EBITDA grown from 400 plus million to 1000 plus million. PAT has grown from 251 million to almost 600 million, and you can see impressive CAGR 50%, 55%, 54%. Is this really impressive? Question mark. Now you might be like, what's wrong? Now have a look at this. From fiscal year 22 to 23, that's a great jump from 2400 million to almost 5000 million. EBITDA almost doubling. You can see PAT more than doubling. Now why this happened from 22 to 23? But if you check 23 to 24, it has been from almost 5000 to 5400, from 882 to 1000, from 534 to 600. This is not super impressive. This is my 10% also. Now why this big jump? So when we checked, we found that two acquisitions happened, and one was S2 Engineering Services, second one was Stan Pumps Engineering Industries in the second half of fiscal 22. Of course, when there is a brownfield acquisition, means what? If you acquire an existing company, their revenues get added up to my revenue, their profits get added up to my profits, and in that case, the revenues, the profitability, all will seem much more amazing. So even though CAGR looks super impressive, careful, it's an acquisition because of which these numbers have really shot up. From 23 to 24, it's just barely like a 10% or so jump here, even if you see, even in the profitability, okay. That's about financials. If I talk about the risks, top 10 customers contribute to almost 51% of the revenue. Again, a big number. Plus, they don't have long-term and exclusive contracts with the majority of their customers and suppliers. So, is that a risk? Yes. One more risk is that working capital days have been continuously increasing. If you look at the figure in 22, 54 working capital days, and while they have been almost in an increasing trend, currently as of September 2024 they stand at 144, but if I were to check the year-ended data from 54 to 70 to 151, right? Now, is this really big or not? For that, what I did is simply I compared them, their working capital days with two of their peers. One is GMM Pfaudler, second one is HLE Glascoat. GMM Pfaudler working capital days 64, HLE Glascoat it's 116, and for them for year ended 31st March 24 it is 151. So obviously their working capital days are on a higher side. What does this mean? If cash management is not done properly, it could lead to a cash crunch. So we have to be a bit careful on how are they managing their cash. Going to pending litigations, currently the amount stands at 664 million, which is almost 100% of the net profit, but it's an indirect tax litigation, total 9 cases, so not a huge risk per se. Valuation wise, their P stands at 39.77 as per the upper band, whereas the industry average is at 55.24. So as compared to the industry, their P ratio is definitely on a lower side. Now if I were to compare this 39 ka PE with their other peers, GMM is at 30, HLE Glascoat 56, Thermax 81 and Praj 52. Now why I feel that we should not really compare it with Thermax and Praj. Look at their size. They're like, I mean Thermax especially, it's a 95,000 million ka revenue. Even Praj is at 35,000 million revenue. GMM Pfaudler 34,000 million revenue. Standard Glass Lining is 5,000 million revenue. So this is comparatively very small in relation to its peers. So just thought of mentioning this point that even though the peers are listed peers are mentioned in their RHP, of course Standard Glass Lining is very small in terms of revenue, in terms of overall EPS as well. If you check your EPS is 3.52 versus compared with all others, it's pretty less, right? Why are they raising this money? Majorly for two purposes. Number one is for capital, so basically capex for purchase of machinery, equipment, whatever. Second, the biggest one actually is repayment or prepayment of certain outstanding borrowings. When does the IPO open? Today, that is 6th of January 2025, 6th to 8th. That's the price band, 133 to 140. Out of the 410 crore total issue, 210 is fresh issue, and balance 200 crore is offer for sale. These are the IPO details, but now let's understand about their two peers. One is GMM Pfaudler, second one is HLE Glascoat. How have they performed post listing? So this is just a chart of GMM Pfaudler. If you see here, that's where it had listed. From here, it saw a very nice impressive increase, and from there, this is the 2020 ka level. It came down almost sideways since 2020. It's almost at the 2020 ka level, okay? If you have a look at HLE Glascoat, here if you see, this is the listing. From here, it rose almost 300%, and from that, it's almost at the IPO level only right now. So what do we learn from all these things? Number one, we should not jump into any company just because whatever XYZ is the GMP. Many people say, oh, GMP is 60%, very good, I'm going to invest. No. You have to understand some basic fundamentals. You have to understand basic nitty-gritties. If their CAGR is good, why is it good? Is the product something different, something nice? Yes. Understand the industry analysis, understand the valuation, understand the risks involved, understand everything, and then take your own informed decision. So I hope you have enjoyed this short summary video. As I mentioned, please don't forget to check out the link in the pinned comment. Very important, just in case if I fumbled on something. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.